Muffed is on a season that didn't click. Let's talk about why. Muffed! Mike Evans finished 2025 as the number 75 wide receiver in total points per reception scoring, but the number 40 wide receiver in per game scoring among players who suited up at least 6 times. That gap tells you everything. When Evans was on the field, he was still a usable fantasy piece. The problem was he was barely on the field. 2 injuries gutted the year. A hamstring in week 3 against the Jets cost him 3 games, then a brutal Monday night in Detroit in week 7 where he played 13 snaps and walked off with both a concussion and a broken clavicle. He landed on injured reserve, healed faster than anyone expected, and returned in week 15 with juice. But the damage was done. 8 games played, and for the first time in his career, no 1,000-yard season. The 11-year streak that tied Jerry Rice is over. Now let's dig into the numbers because the per-game profile is more interesting than the counting stats suggest. Evans averaged 10.6 points per reception scoring per game on a 24% target share and a 35% air yards share. When he played, he was unquestionably the focal point of the Tampa passing game downfield. His share of intended air yards sat at 39%. That's a true alpha number. Total receiving expected points added came in at plus 5.3 across 8 games, modest but positive. The efficiency underneath is where you see the wear. Separation averaged under 2 yards at 1.98. Yards after the catch above expectation was minus 0.67, and he totaled just 37 yards after the catch all season. This was a contested catch air yards profile, not a yards after catch profile. And on consistency, Evans was steadier than you'd guess. 6 of his 8 games landed between 10 and 14 points per reception scoring, with one ceiling game of 19.2 against the Titans and the Detroit 0 where he got hurt early. Take out the injury game, and this was a reliable floor when healthy, just without the blow-up weeks the target share suggested were possible. The play that captures this season best isn't a touchdown, it's the week 15 return against the Titans. 6 catches, 132 yards, the vintage line after weeks of wondering if the clavicle and concussion combination would sap the deep ball element of his game. That game alone accounted for more than a third of Evans' receiving yards for the entire year, and it's the single data point that explains why the per-game rank stayed respectable while the season total cratered. When healthy, the alpha role was intact. The body just wouldn't cooperate long enough to bank a full season of it. Muffed! Evans finished as the number 75 wide receiver in total scoring and the number 40 in per game scoring, a lost year defined by availability, not decline. The number that bears watching is the minus 0.67 yards after catch above expectation, with just 37 total yards after the catch on the season. Even when healthy, this is now a pure air yards profile with almost nothing added once the ball arrives. That's Mike Evans' 2025. One quick note, if you want the same treatment for every player on your fantasy roster every week, head to muff.ai and we'll build you a custom weekly show. That's the wrap.